All right, this is where I'll be very careful because this is a live system to not actually send an email to anyone's list, but we're going to the sending tab now. This is where we pick that list. So, you know, again, this is where your searching comes really in handy. I'm going to click on it. You would just click choose selected. I'm going to instead, I think we have a couple test lists in here. What they're called. Test is too common here, but we may remove them. But so we're going to leave that blank, but just to be extra careful. But this is where, again, you would just type in, okay, great, which is our list. So checking that list ahead of time will make this process really smooth. But that's probably at the beginning of your process, because that probably impacts other, you know, getting other people to upload your people, making sure that list is really accurate. Probably the first step in the process, so that, great, now I'm ready to jump in and really make edits, but you know it's going to the right people. So you would just, again, highlight this, click choose selected. If you did have a suppression list, so these are people you do not want to receive it. So it doesn't mean they've unsubscribed. Those people will automatically not receive it, but this will help with if you have a specific situation where you want to exclude a set of users. If someone is on the to list and the suppression list, they will not receive the email. So if I literally did the same list as my suppression list, 0 people receive this email. The from, there are 2 options potentially for your from that will be relevant to you all. So you can see there can be a specific user. This is going to be a person who is a user in Pardot. So if I want this to come from me, you know, I can pick, we have DuPont Circle Solutions in here. It'll just use the name in the system and the email in the system. Very likely it would be this option or a general user in which I can type in the name. So some of the emails, you know, here at AUSA, the headquarters are from there, and you could do any email that you need for the sender.
Yeah, I understand that if you use a specific name, that increases the deliverability. Does it make a difference for a general user versus specific user?
It will. That will be email client dependent. So if like Google versus Outlook are constantly redoing theirs, that is a more like it is a marketing thing to have it be from a generic user. So I would not be surprised, but those algorithms are always changing and adjusting, so it's a little bit fluid. So probably it'd be my answer, but it's just those things will be different depending on what your email is. Same exact process for the reply to. It can be a specific user or a general address. So we do not recommend looking at the assigned user or account owner. That has to do with this bigger database in Fontiva that we're not currently using. So please stick to general address or specific user as the 2 relevant pieces for both the sender and the custom reply to.
Excuse me, do we have to have a reply to address?
Yes. So if you have a no reply, you know, that's possible to put in here, but you do have to select something for it to come from. But again, it could be, yeah, so the default, if you don't pick something, it will be who it's sent from. So this is where you could do a general address and have it be no reply at type of thing. So if you select this, it will just go reply to the sender.
So we're going to have to create either a no reply email address or a generic email address that belongs to the chapter for everyone to respond to, correct?
Yep, so like Rupinder Singh, who works here as our network administrator, you know, many chapters have created the AUSA.org addresses, so you could create one here, you know, it could be, you know, Vice President Kamo or something, and at AUSA.org, for Arsenal Democracy at AUSA.org. and then put that address in there, and then all the replies would go to that generic email address that you had set up. So it doesn't overwhelm somebody's email inbox.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Great. The other pieces here, subject line. So there were two different spots. So if you didn't update it the first time, this is a second opportunity to update it. It is required. Completion actions, you can just go ahead and ignore. That again ties back to this other database and allows for automation in the future. So really staying above here is good.
One really important comment on subject line. We know that a lot of people, they skim through their emails. So make sure whatever the subject line that you pick is something catchy that'll grab their attention, that they'll want to open it. So here's your last chance again to, don't miss out on the big meeting next Thursday. I don't know what, but just something that they'll see. Oh, that's, yes.
In Magnet Mail, we have two different, one is the message name that we save it under. I might save it under,
right,
which can't be duplicated, but I can duplicate the subject line. So this subject line is what the recipient is going to see?
Correct. When we were first creating that email, there was, the name of the email, and you're right, that is a unique name. Yeah, that's internal. This is the external subject line. So it's both here under the send tab, as well as when you go to building. Oh, they're mad at. So the system will tell you if you don't have all the key pieces. Let me save here. Okay, it's saved. If I go back to building, it was both here in the subject line as well as under send. So you have two chances, but both of those are the external subject line that is sent out to the end users.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This is a very basic final little hover. Again, hopefully you saw the preview under building. There's a whole testing tab, but this is just, oh my gosh, what is that? This is really a final check. Hopefully that's all goes smoothly. And then the recommendation is to always schedule this, because that will give you that extra couple hours of buffer. Send now will literally send it now. So schedule allows you to pick a date and time. It talks about your time zone, so you really should have clarity, hopefully, of what time it is right now. And then what that allows is, say, Gwen is also on my test list. She runs down and says, wait, don't send that. I saw that. We can come back to marketing, emails, scheduled, and pause it, make any changes needed, things like that. So there is, just because you scheduled it, it doesn't mean that you can't change it if you need to before that scheduled time.
Do I have to cancel the schedule before I can make changes? Or can I make it and leave it in scheduled mode?
You can, I believe they'll let you leave it in scheduled mode, yes. So if you want to, move it back a little bit and make changes, you can, or you can just go in and make the changes as long as it's before that time.
So what I just want to be clear is, right now in Magnet Mail, if I have it scheduled to go out next week and I need to make a change on it, I have to cancel it, make the edit, and then reschedule. Otherwise, it will not capture the edit. So just to be clear, if it's already scheduled to go out next week, it will take the edits that I make. I don't have to cancel it.
I am just going to just triple check for you. So we're putting it for next week. Let's see if they let me schedule it. Okay, on the 20th, schedule. Oh, they're not letting me do it. Let us, I just want to make sure I have a very clear answer for you. So let us follow up with answers on that. We'll take a note of that and just confirm, just so that you have those exact steps. So, just so you know.
I actually, this is Harry.
Harry.
Hey, I actually just had this scenario happen to me last week.
There you go.
We scheduled an email, and then we realized that we needed to make a change. So when I went back into the scheduled email and went to edit it, it actually canceled the scheduled email. and I was editing the same email, and I had to reschedule it for it to go out.
Okay, so it automatically canceled it, but then you did have to
When I hit edit, it automatically canceled it. Yep.
Got it. Thank you for that clarity. So you'll go and make edits, click save, and then you will need to go back and pick that time and date again. So you don't have to manually cancel it, but you do have to reschedule it. Thanks, Harry.
So what would be helpful to me would be able to schedule multiple sendings.
Of the same email?
Of the same email.
So for that?
As a marketing plan, 2 weeks apart, 1 week apart, whatever.
And is that of the same content of the email?
Exact same content. So like our scholarship program.
Yeah.
So we start 6 months out and I want to send it and then increase that, I want to send it 10 times over that 6 months.
Sure. The system does allow for capabilities of kind of a drip program. So I think down the line, that might be a candidate for that, because it literally can say, of anyone who's not opened it, resend that same email. So the system does have some functionality for some more complex scenarios like that. I think from a list email perspective, so from this, while you can't schedule this same email multiple times in this view, once you have an email, so let's go to like our sent emails, you can make copies of email. So in order to do that with this functionality, you'd have to make a copy and then schedule each one. So you'd have to make a copy for every send you want to have.
How do you do that?
Yep, jump into it right now. So we've got some tests in here. So we can say this test renewal template right in it. So almost every action in Pardot will be in the top right-hand corner. Copy. And then you just rename it. So you say, great, and you update your name convention for the proper date. You can make as many copies as you'd like and then schedule those out.
And each one has to have a different name?
Yes.
So that doesn't change. That's the same dynamic that we're doing with Magnet Mail. We have to change the name to make it different, to copy it and send it out again.
Yeah. So again, some of these we can definitely take offline in case once we get this foundational piece down, there are other capabilities for something like a drip program of kind of hitting people with the same content over time. So it is functionality that exists.
Can you go over the tracking features?
I was just about to do that. Yeah. So this is the fun part. Once your email has been sent, there is some great reporting functionality, and we can show off some of Stan and Gwen's emails here if they're okay with that.
Absolutely.
So that you have more information, and then also there can be some evaluation. Great, like this chapter is going really well. Like let's get some tips and share it out to the other chapters and things like that. So we're going to do a kind of high level, go into a couple, but you do see this reports tab, and then marketing assets, emails, and this is where that term of list email. So this is what we're tracking right now. List emails. This is, again, because this is an AUSA-wide system, you can see information from all of these different emails that have already been sent, but there is a way to filter. So it's pretty little here, but next to name, you see this filter. Go down to filter. There is a does contain. It'd be news you can use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So news you, we're going to say. Okay. Here we have several, looks like 5 different news you can use. We can see, compared to each other, we can see the high-level statistics. So how many people it was sent to, how many bounces, or deliverability, click-through, things like that. But this is a high level, so we want to jump in. Anything that's in blue is typically a link in Pardot. So let's actually jump into a couple of these and see all of the fun statistics. So we jump in, we can see the high level report, very, very high deliverability rate, very high open rate as well. The benchmark is 20% or above is considered a high open rate, so that's excellent. And then a very high click-through rate as well, typically above 2% is high, so there's some is a good one to show off. There's a lot of interesting pieces here. So again, as you see these different statistics, if you click on them, you can actually see who was the hard bounce, who opened it. So we can actually see this list of 439 people. So these are the 439 people who opened this. So I really can go and click and look directly at those people if it's helpful. Yes?
If I wanted to print a list, a spreadsheet, how do I do that?
So here's the 400 or so. If we go to Tools, we can CSV export. And we can either do a faster one, which will give you the default fields, like first name, last name, email, probably around what you all need. Export, and they're going to actually email it. So you will be notified by email when your exported file is ready. So they're going to send you via email. For an express export like that, should be pretty quick. Other fun things, these tabs across, so similar to the email builder, Pardot uses a lot of tabs. You can see a visual of the click-through rate report. So these ones in red are very high click-through. So 11% of people clicked here, 8% here for the total clicks. Green is a little lower, yellow is kind of in between. So you can have a visual. So this can be really fun too as you're reporting to different folks. You could take screenshots of this and highlight these different successes and to help inform what's going well and try and replicate that success. Interaction, every marketing tool comes up with their own algorithms, for what is read rate, skim rate, forwards. I would say this is probably not a perfect statistic. It's around how many seconds somebody is on it, but it could be interesting to compare to each other. So you can see maybe, do we have more forwards on this email than this email? So comparing an email to itself would be helpful. It might have different metrics than a different email tool or something like that. So, not every email client allows you to track forward. So I would say this is kind of a minimum, so I wouldn't take it with a grain of salt, but it still could be helpful comparing email over email around engagement. And then email clients. So if you see, most people are reading this on their iPhone, that could be, okay, maybe we should keep our emails pretty short because they're all checking it on their iPhone. So this can help kind of break down different pieces, and maybe if it's looking really weird on something that's 0.1%, maybe we say that's okay. If it's, like Outlook 2000 is looking weird, it's less than 1%, focusing on kind of the core group. So some fun information that you can look across as you start getting emails out and get a little more information to help inform your email sends. And again, the way we got to that was reports, marketing assets. I think that's a little confusing, and then emails, and then list emails. So the other way you can also get to it is if you're in your sent emails, you can just click directly into it. So that actually might be a little faster as well. So we can just say, okay, great, let's just see what happened with this. And then you can just click view report when you're on the sent email. So a couple ways to get to the same spot.
And then comparing different messages.
So this is where in this report view, right now I have the filter on for myself. If you filter by, say, your chapter code, you'd be able to see week over week or month over month the changes to your email. So if you want to see sent, and there are additional options here, so you can actually select the columns that you see. If there are different pieces that are important to you, you can check which columns you'd like to see in this view, but this is the best view for that comparison of different emails for some key statistics.
So I know a lot of you send a lot of emails. So you can just look at the last 10 or 20 emails, and then as Chrissy and Tori were mentioning to us, those emails that are very successful and have high open rates, go in there and try to figure out what's working. and then look at the others and figure out what's not working.
Yeah.
So you can kind of adapt and change your email formats and content.
Absolutely, and things to think about for best practices is a high open rate is probably has to do with your subject line. That's all they see before they open it. So both actually the sender and the subject line could reflect open rates. Click-through rates probably more about content. So if you see some of these had very high click-through rates on some of those first couple links, that has to do with the content being really engaging and people being interested in digging in. So as you're kind of breaking down those pieces, those are a couple best practices.
So very similar to magnet mail, we create the message, we have the list, the email list or contact list, and then we send the message, and then we track the results, kind of the 4-step process that we did before. And you can see it looks different, but it really, when you use it, I think we found that it's very, comfortable once you get the hang of it and the clicking through. And time is that it seems to move pretty fast. I mean, especially if you have your content already typed up and you cut and paste it in. And so it took most of the time attaching PDF files or putting in links and then updating the text version. But you should be able to move fairly quickly through these when you're creating your email messages, especially if you take an older one and you adjust it or you already have it pre-typed up. So it probably takes less time than magnet mail, just from the experience that we have had working on it. But very robust system.
When we copy an email, because it's already been sent, you can't resend it, so you copy it, can we change that banner photo if we want to freshen it up? Because we're sending it 5 times to our members?
Yes, so when you make a copy, just like you did the first time, you can make any edits you'd like. So whether that's to an image or to text, it will copy it all over, so it can be exactly the same, or you can make a few slight edits. So it will copy over the sender, the list, things like that. So they will be there, but absolutely you can make an edit if you'd like.